Comments made by the following interviewees do not necessarily reflect the views, philosophies, or any other opinions held by me, Fort Shankle. The speakers represent themselves and chose to do so on their own volition. They are shown here merely to inform the viewers at large about the dynamic momentum generated by the Occupy movement. Be sure to view all of the postings dealing with Occupy Pittsburgh on YouTube and CNNIReports.com. Sir, what interests you about today's activities, and how will it benefit and who will it benefit?
For me, the most interesting thing about it is the fact that we're not alone here in Pittsburgh. That I think that this is one of like 1,400 or more cities and towns across the world that are having Occupy marches and occupations to speak out about the fact that the concentration of wealth in the world, the power that corporations have over our political system is unsustainable, that it's not just, and that regular people need to stand up and do something about it. And the fact that there's so many different types of people here doing that right now is incredibly encouraging. And I think that it's the type of movement that can potentially really make some great change.
I think there are a lot of people my age, people in their 60s, who are reinvigorated. It's as if it's the 1968 presidential campaign again and the Democratic Convention. People are involved, and there's this kind of repressed momentum that is unleashed. Do you feel that?
I do. I haven't seen anything like this in my lifetime. I'm 27 years old. The election of President Obama was felt like a major moment in my lifetime because of the number of people that were involved in that, seeing all the different types of people who were out for his inauguration. But I think it quickly became clear to people that the election of one person and one leader is not what changes the world. It's everybody moving together, and the fact that one person isn't able to make corporations suddenly do things that are better for regular people, that it's going to take everybody working in unison. I think that became pretty clear, and people have stepped up and are trying to send that message that that we're going to march forward. That 99% of Americans, 99% of people of the world are not benefiting from the system that we have and the way the system works now, and it's going to take us to change that. It's something we haven't seen in a long time, and my hope is that it is the kind of movement that's a once-in-a-generation movement, because that's the kind of movement that sets us on a new course, and a course that's just, and a course that will, I think, make this world a more livable place.
It's an empowering day for you?
Yes, it is.
Tell me why.
Because we're sick of the corporate greed. We're sick of the bailouts. And I think it's time for the people to rise up and revolt.
Has it been a long time coming?
A very long time coming. And the revolution will not be televised.
Well, I'll be there.
You'll be there?
I'll make an attempt to televise it.
Okay, then.
Do you have any other concerns that you think will be rectified with this movement?
Hopefully we'll get a handle on some of the spending, some of the debt ceilings, the Medicare, the Social Security, things that they need to leave alone. Hopefully those will be taken care of and situated for those that come after us.
Is anybody listening?
Not yet, but we're about to make them listen.
You're a member of the healthcare. Let me do it again. So you're a member of the healthcare union across the state of Pennsylvania, right?
Correct. Yep.
Could you tell me how your union supports this movement, or is it an individual support?
Oh, no, absolutely. Our union's behind this 100%. We've been very involved in trying to fight for a fair economy in this country, and this is just another important part of that struggle. And our union's been involved in so long.
Are the corporate types going to be listening to you, do you think?
Well, not just individually, but the more demonstrations and rallies like this and the more people that get involved, they're going to have to start listening.
Are you old enough to remember the 60s?
Absolutely.
Were you an activist then?
Yes, I was.
So does this feel like deja vu again?
It does, but at the same time, it's different. I think it's more of a cross-section of people now. There's all kinds of people here from, all... You can just look at this crowd and see the diversity of it, and that's, I think, one of the big differences. And in fact, what makes it more encouraging is the fact that this seems to be really cutting across all kinds of barriers, all kinds of groups of people here.
Are you a supporter of today's event?
Yes, I am.
How come?
Because I believe that the banks need to be separated. The Glass-Steagall Act needs to separate the commercial banking from the investment banking, and we can sort out this debt problem and get people back to work.
How would that be done?
It would be done like FDR did it in 1933, with the Banking Act of 1933. It was named after a senator and a representative, Glass-Steagall. And that separates the commercial banking industry, which is insured by the government and provides the loans for municipalities, for water systems, for education and school districts, and also for business loans and home loans. And it separates that money from the investment banking system, which takes the risks. And if they take a risk and take a loss, they should not be recouped by the commercial banking system, which is happening today, which is depressing our communities, our states, our nation, and the world as a whole.
Did you expect to see so many people show up here today?
Why, certainly.
Good. Will you attend the next one?
If possible, yes.
Gentlemen, you're students. You may have a lot of money that you owe to someone because of student loans. Could you tell me about that? And is that a primary reason for supporting the Occupy movement?
I don't necessarily support the Occupy movement. I would say that, yes, I have student debt, but I am quite content in the fact that I will work hard to pay it back one day, and I do not feel that I should be protesting for wish lists. Thank you.
Do you have any problems with the way corporate America is handling things?
Oh, absolutely. I have problems with collusion of corporations and government. But I also know that when I agree to a contract, I want to follow through on that. I believe in the law, surprisingly enough. So when people break the law at high ends of government, they should pay. When people break the law at low ends of the system, they should pay. That's what keeps us unified.
It's called responsibility, right?
It is. It's called self-responsibility, and it's lacking in society.
Do you think that other people, how old are you?
I am 24, sir.
Do you find that other people 24 are not as responsible or nor advocating responsibility?
I'm not willing to judge other people's responsibility, only my own.
Well, that's good. You're responsible then. How about you, sir? What's your take on today?
You know what? I go to school. I have loans. I agree. I think it's very self-advocating for people to come out. I didn't think Pittsburgh would end up with this many people, but it's very good. Good to see people out.
I'm Catherine Balsamo, the member coordinator for Working America AFL-CIO. We are the community affiliate of the AFL-CIO, so we organize with folks that don't have the benefit of a union on the job, still care about good jobs, public education, affordable health care, corporate accountability, and retirement security. We've got about 3.5 million members, and around 500,000 are here in Pennsylvania. Our members are extremely concerned about this economic crisis, and they have been extremely impacted by it. A lot of people are unemployed, a lot of people are underemployed. They're piecing together part-time jobs. They're trying to live on just one part-time job. They don't have benefits. They're not able to work in their fields because their fields don't have job openings. And people are struggling to sustain their families. It's unacceptable in every way. And so we are standing with Occupy Pittsburgh today to demand further corporate accountability so we can get our economy back on track.
It seems that daily one hears about companies that are moving overseas, plants that are closing almost surreptitiously so the workers won't be involved in it. Do you find that with the people you talk to?
A lot of Working America members are extremely concerned about outsourcing. Some of them have had their jobs outsourced themselves. One thing that they advocate as a solution to this economic crisis is buying American and making sure that we put people back to work in infrastructure and have the materials utilized in infrastructure, rebuilding and repair be made here in America.
Should there be negotiations with China specifically and certainly India because of their growing economic power? Should there be trade restrictions or trade agreements made so that we get part of the pie too?
So our members feel like we need to see trade laws that enable the American worker to thrive, right? One that doesn't promote workers undercutting each other and making our standard of living go down and down and down. That's not something I want to see.
Do you think the politicians are listening?
I think the more that people call their elected officials, write their elected officials, get out in the streets, visit their elected officials and sit down and have meetings with them, the sooner we will see the sort of change that all of us want to see right now. Or at least the 99% of us want to see.
Sir, why are you here today?
Well, I mean, I think my sign really kind of says the reason I'm here is I'd like to show my support for what I think is the central theme of this movement, which is I think there's been a small group of people in this country in the last 25 years that have used a number of things, including weak employment law, deregulation of the laws that have enabled them to marginalize and isolate profit in a way that I think that they've fundamentally shut the system down. I do. I've been saying that for decades, that I think what's happened in our country is that we've lost an appropriate balance between the rich and the middle class and the poor, and that what we see as a recession really has been the consequence of an economic suppression over decades that has finally just resulted in this kind of dysfunction. And I think that the Occupy Wall Street movement has really been the first thing in the last couple decades that has really gotten to the core issues of what's really been wrong. And that I came down here to show my support.
Do you think it's going to do any good?
I think this is actually the first thing in the last couple decades that's going to fundamentally do something good. I really think that mostly what's been going on in the last 10 to 15 years is people in positions of power, what I call rearranging the furniture in the room of power. And that this is really the first thing that is talking about expanding that room.
We're both 63.
What's on your mind today, ma'am?
Well, something my husband just talked about, and that's campaign finance reform. And I think it's important for people to realize that congressmen need to spend 30 to 70% of their time, once elected to office, they need to spend that much time in campaign fundraising. So issues like, for example, health care or taxes or EPA regulations, any sort of true issues that need to be addressed get cast away. We're just left in the lurch. Constituents are, because they have to focus on raising funds for their campaigns. And so the focus is not on voters, it's not on their constituents, it's on getting reelected, which just leaves us here where we are today in the midst of a recession, and things are just not looking good. And corporations have taken a stranglehold upon all of us.
How do you feel about the decision the Supreme Court made giving corporations really unlimited influence?
Appalling. Absolutely appalling. And it literally takes the voice of the middle class, lower, higher, whatever, anyone above the wealthy. It just reduces our voices. We have no voice. So this is what it's come to. Occupy Wall Street started it, and it's going to be a global event because people are impacted worldwide. And now we've put 100 troops into Uganda, and we're trying to say bring our troops home from Afghanistan, and now we have 100 troops in Uganda. My heart goes out to the people of Africa. I have a true heart for what they go through there. But 100 troops in Uganda is not going to accomplish anything. We need to take care of what's happening at home. We have people sleeping in shelters. Soup kitchens cannot handle everything anymore. Our homeless are just abounding. And corporations like UPMC and others in these lovely buildings we see are thriving. well, here we are, the huddled masses. It's so sad. I never thought, you know, we're college educated, we've had great careers, but we worry about our children. We truly worry about our children. This is not the legacy they were meant to have.
I really hope that this protest keeps up momentum. It's overdue, and we're all tired. And I still have a lot to learn about what's going on. But I do know that what's going on with the Federal Reserve is wrong, and it's a mess. And I hope that the people can do what we can, myself included, to bring things back to where they should be. So, thank you. Much peace.
Do you think this will sustain the will of the people, this kind of happening?
I think it should. I think that there's been a lot of social control going on with how people think of things and the fear that happens with this kind of public protest. And actually speaking up because we have a right to as humans. It's not about, So I hope that it keeps up momentum. And I hope that we can continue to understand that, like I said before, we have a right as people, as humans on this planet, to fight for what we believe in, and to, food and water are human necessities. They're not things that we should be necessarily paying for. We have a right to eat, to live, and to continue to be.
I noticed a lot of people in their 50s and 60s and 70s today here who were saying that there was a lot of unfinished business from the 60s. Do you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. You know, with John F. Kennedy saying a lot of the things that he said, quite honestly, about the Federal Reserve and what's going on with our banking systems, and then being assassinated to silence a lot of things, and I think that's definitely a part of the unrest. I actually just left a rehearsal at the Soldiers and Sailors in Oakland, and just being in that building and feeling the way that people put their lives on the lines, and they're being shooed away and not being cared for as people, as humans. They put their lives on the lines for corporate ideas, and they're being shunned as if what they fought for is so important, but what about them as people? They should be taken care of, you know?
When I heard the Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street movement was coming to Pittsburgh, I felt that I had to come down because usually things are the last to come to Pittsburgh as far as movements are concerned. I don't know, I think pretty much Pittsburgh is a conservative town, so it usually takes them longer to get into things.
Well, do you think that that's a testimony then to the strength of the movement that Pittsburgh had the kind of show today in the march?
Well, yes, I don't think when it first started, people thought it was going to have that much staying power, but I know a lot of people couldn't go to New York and some of these other cities, so that's why I felt that I had to come down here, because I feel pretty strongly about this gap between the rich and the poor becoming wider, and the disparity is going to wreck our economy eventually.
So you're involved in healthcare. In what situation?
Well, I do home health care, visiting senior citizens in their homes and helping them out and so forth. I have a background in environmental education, however, and I have done some seasonal work in the field, so preserving the environment's part of my interest as well.
Then you would be interested in the current ad campaign on the part of the oil and gas industry advocating that the EPA be stripped of its powers. Have you seen those?
Well, yes, I have, and that's pretty disheartening. And the other thing that's pretty disheartening to me as far as Pennsylvania is concerned is this Marcellus gas drilling in the area here is really becoming a booming business. Of course, you know, it can be helpful for jobs, but also you got to look at the downside of all the potential for pollution and degradation of the forests and the air and so on.
So do you think that this movement could even save some of the environmental regulations from opposition from the conservatives?
Well, hopefully it can expand, you know, into these areas, and also the anti-war movement trying to get us out of these wars that are costing us so much money too. If we can eliminate the cost of these wars, I'm sure it would help the budget immensely.
The comments made by the following interviewees do not necessarily reflect the views, philosophies, or any other opinions held by me, Fort Shankle. The speakers represent themselves and chose to do so on their own volition. They are shown here merely to inform the viewers at large about the dynamic momentum generated by the Occupy movement. Be sure to view all of the postings dealing with Occupy Pittsburgh on YouTube and CNNIReports.com.